Hi, my name is Austin Gill, and I like to build fun and interesting things for the web. In my videos, I'm going to be building out new projects, checking out different technologies, and sharing the things that I learn along the way. So if that sounds interesting to you and you want to tag along, then why don't you subscribe and we can build something fun together. Okay, so what did we cover today was looking at this big virtual keyboard that we've built. We want to have an event listener that listens to all of these events and updates our current state or does a reaction to those buttons. So one approach that you might take is having the event listener on every individual button, which works fine, but we have 28 buttons here, and we probably don't want to do that. Or another approach that we can do is, instead of putting the event listener on every individual button, we can have a single event listener on the entire keyboard. So here's our keyboard, and we put the click handler on the keyboard element. And the advantage there is that this pattern is called event delegation, is that now all of the same handler, the single event handler that we're adding, is handling all of the events. And why that's an advantage is because it preserves some memory. If somehow if this list of characters or buttons was dynamic, meaning we're constantly adding and removing buttons to and from the DOM, we don't have to add event listeners and remove event listeners from those elements. It's a good approach for memory management. So we just add one listener to the root. And how does that impact event target? So when we add an event listener to each individual button, it makes it really easy to capture the event listener's target and grab that button consistently. The problem with the event delegation approach is that we don't always know which element we're clicking. So as I showed that earlier, if I zoom way in and I click here in this gap, I'm technically on this unordered list, which is inside of our keyboard. And the event listener is still going to fire on that unordered list. And the event listener is also going to fire on that div. And we don't really care about clicks on the div or on the unordered list. We just care, or this list item, we just care about the clicks that happen on the button inside of that list. So quite easy. We basically just grab the event target, and I'm actually going to refactor this, move that up there, and then we're going to say the element, if the element's local name is not button, then we can just bail early on this event handler. So if we click on the div, we don't care. If we click on the list item, we don't care. If we click on the unordered list, we don't care. If we click on one of the buttons, okay, let's get to work. Let's grab the key from the button's data set. So on each button, we are adding the data-key attribute, and we're just assigning that to the letters key, which I probably have this logic backwards. This should be key and this should be letter, but that's fine. And then on the enter and delete key, we're also adding a data key attribute, one for enter and one for delete. So if we go back up to our click handler, we can check for the delete key, or if it's the enter key, or in any other case, we can update the current guess. So what is local name? Local name is a property from the DOM. So let's see. I want to reset that. I'm going to go to my console. I'm just going to grab any element here and copy that as where was it? Store as global variable. And then cool, we've got this temp1 variable. And if I say temp1.local name, it's going to return the tag name for that element. So here, because I grabbed this span, it's going to return span. When I'm on another DOM node that's a button, it's going to return button. If I'm on a DOM node that's a div, it's going to return div. So that's pretty handy.